Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the global stage right here at Switch 2025. We just met our friends from Canada. Now we're going to head over to Austria to find out about innovation in Austria. For those of you who are just joining us here today for day two at Switch at the global stage, this is the stage where we connect entrepreneurs, innovators, businesses, governments to like-minded individuals all around the globe. Sometimes in life we want to open our business in our own respective city and country because it's more home. It makes sense. But maybe our idea could work better in another market. That's what this stage is all about, is connecting you with various different markets around the globe. So with that, we'd like to welcome our friends from Austria on stage. Please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Mayen Lau, Project Manager at the Global Incubator Network, Austria, to kick off the session.
Hi. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our session. So, can I ask you something? Who of you have been to Sentosa? Raise your hand. Did you notice the cable car? Did you took it? It's an Austrian innovation. Have you seen the Apple Store outside here? It's also made of an Austrian company who made the glass of this building. So Austria is well known for our innovation, and this is what it's about. And in the next few minutes, we're talking about how you get to Austria, and also it's the gateway to Europe. My name is Mayen Lau. I'm project manager of Global Incubator Network Austria, short GIN, and I will introduce you shortly what we're doing.
All right, thank you so much, Mayen, for that. Come on over here a second. Let's introduce our friends here, our panelists today. Mayen, first we've got Dr. Ali Hasnain, founder and CEO of Curium, right?
Yes, it's a Singaporean startup which was part of our Go Austria program 2022, and now this year is also having a follow-up with us.
Next we have Dr. Mark Durkop, CEO of Novozyme.
Yeah. This is an Austrian startup in biotech, and he's taking program as our Go Asia, Go Singapore this year.
Next, we have Vera Meyer, Australian Trade Commissioner and Commercial Counselor at Advantage Australia, Singapore.
Welcome, Vera.
I think her title tells what she does.
Tells what she
I think we're good on that one. Yeah. And last but not least, we got Werner Mueller, Program Manager at Global Incubator Network Austria.
Yes, and also for the FFG, the Research Promotional Agency in Austria, responsible for the startups.
And then we have Mayen with us, who's going to be the moderator. So Mayen, the stage is yours. Enjoy.
Thank you very much. So I would say let's dive into this. Everyone knows Austria, that we have a very big cultural, we have good food, we are known for our skiing skills, but also for our innovation, as I mentioned in the beginning, for the Doppelmayr and also the glasses. Let's start into this. To Werner and Vera, from your perspective, what are the top 3 reasons why an international founder should seriously consider Austria.
Okay, so maybe I start. So maybe a similarity to Singapore. There's a great funding system due to the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor ranked number 2 public funding system in the world, number 1 within Europe. So that's already maybe a great reason to start. It's a small market, but a research-driven market, also sometimes a test market for the German-speaking region, for Germany, Switzerland, and Austria. And then, as it's close and a small country, I think connections are made easy. So that's, I think, a third reason to come to Austria.
Well, I'm gonna just, add on. So the first things that actually come to mind are great food, super nice mountains, and really cool people. But I don't think that's what you want to hear. So as I've been here in Singapore, based in Singapore, I'm talking to my partners all the time. And what we came up with is actually that Singapore and Austria have more in common than you would think on the first thought. Singapore always positions itself as the gateway to Southeast Asia. Well, Austria is exactly that, but for Europe, and more specifically, rather, the Central and Eastern European part. So if you would love to dabble into Europe, think good where you want to position yourself. And Austria is definitely, with about 400 headquarters of European and international companies being centered in Vienna for the European region, I think this is already quite a stamp of approval that you definitely should have a look at.
Yeah, thank you. To Mark, what convinced you to build Novasign in Austria and not somewhere else?
I mean, first of all, I have to say I studied there, and basically the idea was born there. So maybe to add on what you just said, on top, besides the fact that we have a very good early stage funding system, and second of all, we're basically central in Europe. The third thing I would add is here the educational system. So if you basically are studying something there and have a good idea, this combination makes it very attractive to build a company in Europe. For me, there was never a question to found it anywhere else. But now, since we're scaling up, the question is where can we expand?
Okay. Yeah, and Ali, so you founded your startup here in Singapore, but you've been to our Go Austria program. What did you expect how Austria be like, and what surprises you the most once you arrived there?
So I joined the GIN program in 2022 for the first time, and that was my first time to Vienna, sadly. In the past, I had been to Salzburg as a tourist, but I didn't know honestly much about Austria. And I think the biggest thing that surprised me was the history. So Vienna was the center of Europe, was the capital of Austro-Hungarian Empire and Habsburg family. And that was the place where people would go for culture, for finding jobs and settling there. So pretty much like, I mean, if I think of Europe now, before going to Austria, it was like London is the center or the Paris is the center of Europe. But I didn't know history about Vienna. I actually fell in love with Vienna, how the city was structured, the inner circle, the quarters, different quarters of the city, how it was structured. So I was quite impressed with that. So I think the biggest shocker was that maybe my short-sightedness, that I didn't know the history about Austria and how vibrant the culture, the architecture, and the food was.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, Werner, you already mentioned that Vienna or Austria has a very big funding system. So can you give us an overview of how Austria supports innovation and startups through the funding and the programs they offer?
Yeah, so as Austria is not just a nice country, it's nice people and maybe also a great quality of living. There's also, as said, a great funding system, especially for early stage startups, research-driven startups will find pretty easy support for their ideas. Also, I think they could attract talent. There's a lot of good universities around. So to born these ideas and bring them to an early stage, I think it's not that complicated. as Mark said, maybe scaling and international expansion, finding money from investors is not that good there. You have to look outside. But for early stage startups, there are a lot of public funding system on a national level, and then you have also on a regional level, for example, with the Vienna Business Agency, additional funding, and also matchmaking with investors. So we will get funding plus first business angel investors, I would say, or first small investors. And then you have to look outside Austria, as it's just a small market with 9 million inhabitants. There you have to go global, or at least look to other European markets.
Thank you. To Vera, how does Advantage Austria help international founders land softly, whether it's finding partners, clients, or any businesses?
So this is where we have to start a step back and tell you what Advantage Austria actually is. Advantage Austria is part of the Austrian embassy, and we are the commercial arm. So what we do is building bridges between Singapore and Austria, between our companies, finding partners, each for the other market. So if one of you would be interested in coming to Austria, have a first look, we would be your first contact points. Get in touch. It's fairly easy. My email address is singapore@advantageaustria.org. Okay, fairly easy in terms of saying it. It's quite a lot to type, I know. You just get in touch with us. We will help you find the right partners, find the right people in Austria to talk to, like Werner or our friends from the Austrian Business Agency. But you know, we are your one-stop shop. Once you've made the step into Austria, you would come into an ecosystem that is actually very well structured for you as a founder to get to the right people. Because there is like 5 contact addresses that you need, and you all get them within the first 10 minutes. If you talk to Werner, me, or the Austrian Business Agency, you're all settled. We can help you finding the right people, finding an apartment to live. We even help finding a coffee shop where you can have a coffee and meet nice people. So that's what we can do for you.
Yeah, I want to go and dive more into the programs Austria has to offer. Werner, can you explain what GIN really does and the Go Austria program does for Singaporeans?
Yeah. So the Global Incubator Network Austria is a soft landing program helping startups from Asia to come to Europe and expand or start the expansion from Austria, and the other way around. We help Austrian startups to get a foot in the market in Asia. That's why we also have brought with our Go Singapore program now 7 startups here from different industries. You can meet them at the booth, or some, I think, around in the audience. For Singapore founders or founders from Asia, we've got the Go Austria program, which is a soft landing program helping you first in a group program to explore Austria in a 1-week program covering all the costs, like travel costs, hotel costs. We offer you a mentor who is familiar with the industry in getting your business meetings. We give you stage time at a similar festival like here, the Vienna Up Startup Festival, which will take place in May. And after that, if you decide, okay, after exploring Austria, I like the culture, I like the people, and I like also Austria for business reasons and want to start my expansion here, or think about my expansion here, we have follow-up services where you can come again, have additional support from your mentor, and then we onboard you in the founding process, where we give you back 50% of all your costs, of your founding costs. And then once you're registered, you can profit for the early stage funding system and from the access to 450 million people, which are around in customers in Europe.
Yeah, thank you, Werner. And Alice, since you are actually being part of the Go Austria program, what did you gain from it? Contacts, any market knowledge, or maybe even a whole new perspective about Austria and Europe?
Yeah. So first of all, as Werner mentioned, that GIN Go Austria program, it covers your travel costs, accommodation. So that is a barrier for founders who, of course, want to conserve their resources. So They cannot spend money on travel. So they help with that. So your travel is sorted, your accommodation is sorted. They provide you with an advisor who is in your field and with a lot of experience and local contacts. So you have one-on-one with your advisor, you share your goals with your advisor, and then you come up with milestones and you try to reach them. And also, I'm actually joining the program again. I'm flying to Vienna next month. So the level of support doesn't stop here. Like if you cannot reach your goals in the first visit, you can join the program again. And this time we are better prepared. We have more connections as well. We are actually, I'm going a little bit early because we are joining a consortium in Carinthia, and we have got a project at the Klagenfurt airport. So I'm going a little bit early to meet the customer and have the things going. And then, as Werner mentioned, that there is support for founding the company as well. So that is something I'm also putting up my application hopefully tomorrow, and we can get some support for incorporation of the company and get our first customer.
Okay. Yeah. So every market has opportunities and challenges. So I want to really get into it. Mark, what have been your biggest advantage being based in Austria, and what was been the biggest challenges you had to overcome as a founder there?
I mean, on the advantage side, I think I can just repeat what was already said. So the factor that we have very good early stage funding is really a key here to build a company and to start testing things. That's a huge advantage. Another advantage of Austria, or Vienna especially, I would say, is that thinking of the location where it is, it's comparably cheap in terms of cost of living, and also if you build a company there, if you rent offices or so, this is not really a huge point here. And the third thing I want to say is, like, nowadays when you look at the economy, especially in Europe and in the US, we have a problem in efficiency. So if you are basically a startup that thinks about optimizing whatever with some tools, and you're coming to Europe, you're located in the center. So you can go everywhere in no time. And people also want to come to your office when you are in Vienna, so that we have quite a lot of companies joining us just because we are in Vienna. So that's a huge advantage, actually. And on the other side, one of the drawbacks, and this is a severe one, I would say, is just follow-up investment. If you think about Series A investment, we are not very strong in Austria there. I mean, we just secured an investment, but it was a US stock market company. But getting money from Europe or from Austria for later stages is a tough one. But starting there, I think it's paradise.
And what was the biggest challenge?
Follow-up investment.
Follow-up investment, sorry. Okay. And to Ali, what was the toughest part of bringing it or starting to see Austria as a market? And if you go back, what? Tell us the thoughts about the process you went through.
Yeah, I think there were some advantages and some challenges. Maybe I can talk about challenges first. Of course, I think there is a mindset difference and a cultural difference that Singaporean founders need to understand before going to Austria. Maybe I can share one story with you, is that in Singapore, it's very common that if you don't get an answer from your customer or potential customer, you ping them again, sometimes even after office hours, on weekends, to get a follow-up answer. But when I was trying to do the same thing, my advisor actually stopped me that this is not how it works here in Austria. If you don't get an answer from advisor or from your potential customer, it means that they do not have an answer from the internal company for you yet. So once they have an answer, they'll get back to you. So I think that is something like some nuances that you need to understand and tune yourself. So I think there were like these kind of small challenges that I faced. But there are some similarities which I see, and I think those are the advantages of opening up in Austria as your European base. Is that Singapore ecosystem is quite small, it's very well integrated, and that's how we are used to. Like, it's very easy to find investors or talk to someone, find the right person. And Austrian ecosystem, I believe, is also very similar. It's a very connected ecosystem as compared to Germany or France. So it's very easy to get to the right person quickly, or get to the right VC quickly. So I think those are the things that I enjoyed while going from Singapore, and hopefully now will open up in Austria. These are the similarities. I think, but some challenges is that, like, of course, in Singapore system, we are very tuned to how things work. I mean, there's a lot of digitization, especially in opening up a bank account. It's very easy in Singapore. But in Austria, in general, in Europe, maybe Austria is better than rest of Europe, but it still takes some time. So I think you have to just slow down a little bit on those things and worry not too much. Like, they will take their time, but it will happen. And maybe one more advice, last advice for Singaporean founders trying to go to Austria is that just enjoy. You don't have to work all the time. Just take a step back and enjoy your time there, like food, culture, as well as you, of course, I mean, doing the hard thing of starting up.
It's funny that that you mentioned opening up a bank account. It's so easy. It's easy for Singaporean, but not for a foreigner, because we had this discussion in the beginning of our workshop that it's for foreigners not that easy. But Vera, you can tell us.
No. I don't want to expand on that. I just think that you touched on a very important point, Ali. When you go abroad, nothing works like at home. You need to adapt, you need to adjust, but it's such a valuable process because it teaches you about yourself and about your company and how you can adapt it to international markets. I think it's an important step to take. That's the only thing I wanted to add. No more about bank accounts.
Fully
I'm
agree.
done about bank accounts.
Yeah, but since Vera, you also worked with Singaporean companies who wants to come to Austria, and you are like the first person they talk to. Where do you see the challenges for them? What's the feedback?
Well, first of all, Austria is not usually the first country that is on their map. And sorry, I'm saying that on stage. Yes, it's usually not the first country. You need to get to know the country better to see the advantages. And there are quite many. We've tried to show you a few here. But I think the biggest challenge that Singaporean companies face when going to Austria, Ali mentioned, it's just not as digitalized yet. We're on the way to there, but we're a country with a lot of history, you know, and all our processes, they have developed over a longer time. So they're different. And this, I think, is the biggest challenge, to adapt to this new system. But there are so many opportunities that you shouldn't look at the challenge. You should look at the opportunity of going to Austria to open up your European business, to have the opportunity to cooperate with companies that are super innovative, that are forward-looking, and they are used to actually export their products, their services. Austria is the same as Singapore. It's a small, very open economy, highly dependent on trade. 60% of our GDP come from international trade. So I don't think that we have so many differences. We have more things that are similar and that we have in common. And to use these similarities and build something together, I think this is what Singaporean and Austrian companies are really good at. And that's what we should look at.
I see this as well. Werner, you also work with a lot of Singaporean startups. What do they have for challenges if they're coming to Austria?
Yeah, I think we figured out already that maybe processes take longer, and maybe getting investment is not that easy. As you have to be patient. I think all over Europe it's not that easy because the different markets also, it's one continent, different rules, different languages. But I think in several sectors Austria has really a global expertise, like in quantum computing or biotech, or if you think about crypto right now, we've got a unicorn in Austria called Bitpanda. So they're doing crypto trading. So they attracted the second biggest crypto exchange, Bybit, to open the headquarters in Austria. So it's not just old culture. It's also there are several good things where you could base your company in Austria because there's a lot of talent available, or like in the crypto market, maybe regulation is better in Austria compared to other markets. And I said, access is easy to other markets. You have to think at least that you expand to other European markets. So when you make it in Austria, I would say you could make it all over Europe. So that would be, from my perspective, the advantages and the challenges for sure. But if you want to do business with Europeans, I think starting from A, like Austria, is a good thing.
Yeah, thank you. So we're almost coming to an end to my last questions. But I want to invite the audience. If you have any questions where we should dive more into it, please feel free after we are discussing our next question. Make up your mind, come up with a question for our panelists. So yeah, so if you guys have one golden tip to a founder from Asia who wants to enter Austria, what would it be? Like Werner, maybe you go to more funding and perspective.
Yeah, talk to funding agencies. I would say there are grants for everything. So talk to agencies. At least talk to people. I think that's important, because talk to founders that have been already in Austria. Make your shortcut. I think your experience, because they have tips and tricks. The market is small, so they will help you. I think that's maybe the biggest thing, to talk to founders that are already established there.
And Vera, do you have a tip around like networking, partnerships? What would you suggest?
I find it going second is always a bit difficult because he took my point away. No, it's about who you talk to, who you connect with, and who you find as your partner. Because you should never do stuff like that alone. You always need partners. So get into the networks, be open, but I don't have to tell Singaporeans because I think you're networking kings. It's always about engaging with the local environment and just diving in. I think this is the most important thing, and just be brave and do it. Why talk about it? Just do it.
Yeah, just do it. And Mark, as a founder perspective, what tip would you give?
I mean, building up on what was already mentioned, I think the question is just really, why Europe? And if you decide to Europe, I would for sure think about Austria, especially when you're early in the process. When you're early in the process, considering funding, it's a huge topic. If you're into biotech or deep tech, Vienna is also a real hub there. And the people all know each other. So if you basically want to connect, if you want to get help from other founders, they're quite active here. So we have a good ecosystem. It's cozy, it's warm. We like to talk to each other. One recommendation I would give you on the personal level: don't scare yourself if you go to a coffee shop or a restaurant. It's like about the culture there. So sometimes this might be the Austrian coffee culture is a little bit interesting. Let's put it that way. But apart from that, good food, good technology, good culture. If you want to connect with peers that are trying similar things, Austria is a good hub. I can for sure say. Yeah.
Yeah, and Ali, what about you? What practical survival advices would you have for a Singaporean startup to come to Austria?
So I would say that usually in Singapore founders, I mean, they hustle a lot. That's a mindset. They work really hard, which is important, but they burn themselves quickly as well. So I would just want to say your mental health is important as well. So you need to slow down. And I think that's what you need to learn when you go to Austria. Enjoy some Austrian coffee and enjoy the view, make some good friends, and slow down a bit and make sure that your mental health also stays as you want, so that you can go longer. So it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Okay. So do we have any questions from the audience? Yes? Please, can someone give him a mic?
As a startup founder, we're being pursued by two European cities to set up our subsidiary there. One is Stuttgart, and other that is Helsinki. So if Vienna is to be the third option, what would it be an advantage over the two options we have on the table?
Stuttgart, Helsinki, or Vienna?
Why come?
Obvious,
Why come?
obvious.
Okay, so Stuttgart. Yeah, if you're not into automotive, I have no reason why to go to Stuttgart. So I think I would ever prefer Vienna, Helsinki. So I think if you really don't want to have the opposite to Singapore, rain all day and cold weather, I think Vienna is a good mixture of both. Yeah, so I think Helsinki and the Nordics are quite expensive compared to Austria. So if you want to have talent there or office space, is it not that easy, I would say, but they have also a great funding system. They've got also a great startup ecosystem with the Slush. So there are a lot of hubs, but to be honest, I wouldn't have thought about Stuttgart or Helsinki first compared to Vienna. I think if you think about Berlin, Barcelona, or Paris, maybe that's at least I think the relevant set where Vienna wants to play in. But if you like Porsche, also maybe nice. Austrian architect, I think, built the Porsche world, so there is always connections.
I want to just quickly add on this. I think it's unfair to say because we don't know the alternative, so I don't really know Stuttgart and Helsinki would be unfair. But one thing that we didn't mention yet, and this was something that Werner just brought up, is talent. So in Austria nowadays, you get talent from all over the world comparably easy. So we have a routine that I would say between 1 and 1.5 months, you get people from, so we have people from Lebanon, Iran, Chile, Canada, all over. So we're a quite international team. And we have developed this routine. So again, I don't know how it is in Helsinki, and I don't know how it is in Germany, in Stuttgart, but that might be also something that quite be very interesting that if you build an international team in Vienna. Yeah.
If I can add just one more bit, especially like a Singapore perspective. So one advantage of moving to Vienna is the public funding. I don't know what kind of business you do, but if you need research funding, so Vienna has allocated 1 billion euros to spend every year. And the market is not very crowded, so you have much higher chance of getting public funding. And for a business like us, it's very important.
And now you get the diplomatic answer, because always the diplomat. Go to the 3 cities, look at them, and where you feel best, there you move.
Thank you. So yeah, we're coming to an end, and I want to look into the future a little bit. So looking ahead, what role do you see Austria is playing for global founders in the next 5 to 10 years? Who wants to start? Maybe Mark?
Wow, that's a tough one. I mean, we are small. I don't know where we will head. But as Werner said before, I mean, thinking about Bitpanda, there are really some really innovative or refurbed. There's some really big companies in Austria that came from nowhere. It's tough. I mean, no one knows what's happening tomorrow nowadays in global economy. So saying where Austria will be in 10 years is a tough one. But I think if you think about if you want to be in Austria tomorrow, or if you want to be in Austria in 1 or 2 months, and you can answer this with yes, then I think this is what you should think about rather than thinking of what's happening in 10 years. Yeah, it's my personal opinion, but maybe it's a little bit too down to earth. Yeah.
Yes, Ali?
I think in the next 5 to 10 years, maybe Austria would be much more similar to Singapore ecosystem because it's a little bit smaller ecosystem. So I think the size-wise, they are perfectly placed to gain that efficiency that Singapore has gained or looking forward. I think they can spend more on digitization and then become the gateway for Europe. And also, I mean, geographically, they are located in the middle of Europe. So I think moving around Europe, it's very convenient. They're also part of the DACH, German-speaking area. So I think they can become the gateway and unlock opportunities for early-stage startups. Maybe when they grow bigger, as Mark said, maybe then they can move out to some other places where they are big investors or big investments. But I think for early-stage startups, it's a perfect place to be. And that's what I see in the next 5 to 10 years, that Austria has become and will be more towards attracting early-stage startups.
Yeah.
And maybe just some last word, I think. today Europe is still a very heterogeneous market, and I think with the upcoming 10 years, Europe will be more one market. I think from a market perspective, it's good to enter now Austria and start the expansion now, because it will be easier to access other markets within Europe in the upcoming 10 months or 10 years. And so good momentum to start right now.
Thank you. Okay. So yeah, thank you to our panelists for sharing your experience and your insights. I think we heard that today that Austria is not just about culture and mountains and skiing. It's all about a strong innovative ecosystem, a central location that opens doors to the EU, generous funding and support, and also success stories that have proven it's possible. So the next time someone tells you Austria is just about Mozart and skiing, you can now answer it's all about markets, money, innovation. Thank you all for joining, and please feel free to connect with our panelists after this panel. And also we brought 7 Austrian startups who are sitting here in the audience to talk with them. They are in diverse industry. We have acoustics, we have biotech, we do have AI startups with us. And continue the conversation. We also have last call to join our Go Austria program. The call will be open soon. And if you are into the ecosystem of Austria now, we convinced you. And next year in May, we have this big startup festival, which takes place in May. It's a decentralized event with all over European, international people coming and to connect there. Yes.
We cover the costs during the Go Austria program, so feel free to reply. Happy to see you in Vienna in May.
Thank you very much.